Hey everyone, this is Razador's Pokemon Shenanigans, and second up in our baby-centered Fire Red mini-series, say that 3 times fast, is a Mon with a pretty interesting type combo. Smoochum is also adorable. As an Ice Psychic type, she's going to be strong against many trainers, minor or major, throughout the course of the game. For sure, she's got an early advantage, as whether you're in Gen 1 or Gen 3, Kanto isn't built with having access to either Ice or Psychic this early in mind. We're both, so I think we're going to be breezing along for quite a while. Before we go into finer detail of today's Pokemon, just going to get this out of the way. Smoochum, as well as every other Mon in this miniseries, gets access to an Egg move. Unlike in my invasive species runs, however, I'm not running max IVs, no hidden power customization, no picking the nature. And while we're at it, I think we're just going to go ahead and ban hidden power from these runs. I say that, and then my next one's going to get like perfect 70 base power dark type or something, right? I just rolled with the first Smoochum I got and ended up with Serious Nature, which means neutral stat gains, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Smoochum's typing is great, but can her typing make up for these stats? Compared to Magby, Smoochum is a fair bit weaker, and her base stat total is more in line with those of first form starters. That base 15 defense is going to be a constant problem throughout the run, and while her special attack isn't too bad, special defense and speed, while not bad, also nothing to write home about, and considering that none of our physical stats go beyond 50, we absolutely need to embrace being a glass cannon. And taking a look at our level up moves, if not for the fact that Smoochum, as well as every Pokemon in this little mini-series of ours, gets access to an Egg move, we'd be grinding for a fair bit due to our starting moves. Pound is 40 base normal type, Lick is 20 base power ghost type that can cause paralysis, and Sweet Kiss is at level 9, and I have a real love-hate relationship with this move because it only ever seems to hit when it feels like it. I also find it a little odd that a move called Sweet Kiss is part of a baby Pokemon's moveset. Anyway, speaking of more moves, let's go over the list of Egg moves. Now, I was seriously considering Wish for Smoochum because, well, Wish is awesome, but having Ice Punch with not only the same type attack bonus, but as a special move because Gen 3 was just way too good to pass up. We're going to be hitting real hard in the early game, and that same type Ice Punch might be viable for at least the main story portion of the game. And just like Magby, Smoochum has decent type coverage. Water Pulse in particular strikes my fancy, and we get some fun utility like Skill Swap. Even Thief with its 40 base power, again Gen 3, will be useful for Smoochum since all dark moves prior to Gen 4 utilize a Pokemon special attack stat. Might even have a use for Shadow Ball. It does use our physical attack in this game, but it is a great move, and having a ghost type move as coverage, and that's not Lick, would prove to be pretty useful. I don't know yet, we'll see. We can take advantage of our typing right away due to Brock's 2 team members being weak to Ice due to them being part ground. Still, it'll be worth taking the time to battle all the trainers as well as the optional rival, since we're going to need XP for later on in the run. And although I'm sure we'll one-shot Onix with Ice Punch, if it's faster, we might be on the receiving end of a one-hit KO due to our abysmal defense. Rock is super effective against Ice after all, and yeah, Onix has bad attack, but a Cool Breeze is enough to KO our Adorbs Pro Tag, so Onix's Rock Tomb would be more than capable. Am I overestimating the Rock Snake? I feel so weird giving Brock anything that resembles credit. Anyway, speaking of Brock, let's see how this goes. First up, as always, is Brock's Geodude, and one-shotting with Ice Punch? Yeah, anyone surprised by that? And Onix is actually faster, but goes for Bind, so maybe Rock Tomb wouldn't have one-shot us. Okay, yeah, I did give Rock too much credit. Silly me. Next up, Cerulean City. As we make our way to Cerulean City, start off by grabbing the rare candy in the backyard. Of the 2 options, I think we're going to go for Rival 2 first, but clearing the trainers out of Misty's gym early for a bit more XP isn't too bad. Yeah, they're going to resist our Ice Punch, but it's still going to be our strongest move against these guys. Can't say the same for Rival 2, however, because Pidgeotto and Pidgeot were not going to be a problem whatsoever in this run. A fact I love, by the way. Now, Charmander, on the other hand, as it comes out, we're going to go for Sweet Kiss. Thankfully, it hits, and even better, Charmander hits itself in confusion. Ice Punch deals great damage. Charmander snaps out and hits us with Metal Claw. But since we're faster, one punch, man, that's all it takes. Next up is Rattata, and it goes first thanks to Quick Attack, bringing us to 12 health, but one Ice Punch takes it down, and we win because Abra cannot fight back. And I figure, hey, if we're going to use Lick at all throughout the course of this run, might as well be now. Definitely the last time we're going to see that, but hey, I get to say that I beat something using Smoochum using Lick. En route to Bill's house, gonna go ahead and grab this hidden elixir, very nice early game find. And as we get ready to battle Misty, you'll see that we have a full team of Pokemon here. Don't forget that in order to gain access to the postgame, we have to catch 60 Pokemon to get the National Dex so that we can uncover Islands 4 through 7 of the Sevi Isles. This time around, gonna do that as we go along to see which way's faster. And that Thief crit, well, that's a great start. And as Starmie comes out, it outspeeds, and of course we get confused off Water Pulse, because why wouldn't we? And we hit ourselves twice, and we're gonna reset there. I will say, I'm surprised that Swift didn't deal more damage to us. Without critting, Thief is gonna be a 3-shot on Staryu. After that recover, go for Confusion and seal the deal. This time around we get hit by Swift, but we confuse Starmie, it hits itself. Okay, we should be good. As long as Starmie doesn't crit us with Swift. Okay, she didn't. And Thief is gonna deal just enough damage. Awesome. Next up, it's time to go on a cruise and battle our rival on the SSN. Not a whole lot to say about this fight. His team is slightly stronger than when we fought him back in Cerulean City, and we are way stronger here. So it's almost beat for beat the same fight, except for the fact that we don't one-shot Kadabra with Thief, but all he ends up doing is disabling us, so we're gonna go fight Surge. Surge sends out Voltorb first, and gotta say, I'm surprised that we're faster, but I don't mind that at all because we one-shot it with Ice Punch. Pikachu we outspeed in one-shot with Confusion. Next up is Raichu, it outspeeds us, goes for Thunder Wave, but we don't lose our turn to Paralysis on turn 1. Turn 2, Shockwave brings us to 41 health, we do not lose our turn, down goes Raichu. En route to Celadon, west of Lavender, we're gonna go ahead and grab us a couple of handy little items that'll be useful to us throughout the course of the run. In the Grass Patch, you can get access to a Rostberry, a Leppa Berry, and a Lumberry. All three potentially useful in this run, especially the Leppa Berry. We're hitting up the Celadon game corner first to go for Giovanni, and still sub 3 hours despite the fact we're catching a bunch of stuff along the way. I like that. Should be a pretty easy fight because, leading off with Onyx is just gonna get you one shot. Giovanni sends out Kangaskhan second, we hit with Sweet Kiss and Confuse it, although it does not hit itself. Turn 2 we go for Ice Punch, it snaps out of Confusion, goes for Tail Whip. And doubling up on Tail Whip, are you Giovanni? Well, that actually wouldn't be that bad of an idea if not for the fact that we are way faster than Rhyhorn and can one-shot it with Ice Punch. And now, before we battle Erica, I am going to head over to Lavender Tower and take out the rival, save Mr. Fuji, that way we can gain access to the Pokeflute, wake up the Snorlax, then move on with the plot, just to have more options. I am so glad we don't have to worry about Sand Attack this run. As Gyarados comes out, we're going to go for Sweet Kiss. It does connect, but it still hits us with Thrash. Ice Punch deals great damage, and of course it snaps out of Confusion, continues thrashing, but we're able to take it out. As Charmeleon comes out, we're going for Sweet Kiss. We confuse it. It hits us with Ember anyway. Next turn, we go for Confusion, deal great damage, and it snaps out. You see why I hate this move? Okay, so we should be able to win this. No Sweet Kiss on Gyarados. We're just going to go straight for Ice Punch. And we get a freeze, our nice reward for our boldness, so we're going to the Charmeleon fight with full health. Sweet Kiss misses, we get it by Smokescreen, but the second one does hit despite the accuracy drop. And another freeze, man, that's some luck. We missed the first Ice Punch, but not the second. Execute is obviously going to be a one-shot, as is the Kadabra because we're much higher level. Can't remember when this fight took more than one try. As for Erica, one-shot sweep, I'm sure that's not surprising. Next up is Silphco. Let's see how we measure up against our rival. Pidgeot, still not a problem. As Gyarados comes out, I take a second to consider what I should use. I go for Ice Punch just to test out damage, little under half. Dragon Rage always deals 40. I go for Sweet Kiss, it connects, but Gyarados doesn't hit itself, but we do crit with Ice Punch, so that makes up for it, kind of. Now Charizard needs to hit itself, and thankfully it does. I go for Ice Punch, hoping for that fluke freeze. We don't get it. Charizard does not hit itself in Confusion, and Wing Attack takes us out. 15 base defense. Now, since we have Psychic, that would deal a fair bit more damage than Ice Punch, but that freeze chance, it's slim, but it's so tantalizing. We've gotten some lucky freezes already throughout the course of this run, so why not try for more? I figure we'll try a few times, and if I can't make it much farther into the fight, I'll go ahead and level up. I'll get Ice Beam to replace Ice Punch. But if we can beat our rival, we can for sure beat Giovanni. Pidgeot's gonna be real tired of this song and dance by now. As Gyarados comes out, Sweet Kiss does connect, but we do get hit by Bite. Don't take too much damage. But thanks to it hitting itself in Confusion, that's the difference maker, and we could take it out with Ice Punch. Now, Charizard has to hit itself, because if it doesn't, it'll start off with Scary Face due to our health. A critical hit, Ice Punch works too. Well, I think we're in Bizzo here, folks. Execute obviously goes down. As for Alakazam, its only attacking move is Future Sight, so I'll go ahead and use Thief to take it out in surprisingly 2 shots. I wasn't expecting that. Now, I figure we won't keep Thief around for too much longer. It's nice to have just to be able to finish off Pokemon with low health, so that we can serve our power points. We don't have to backtrack to, say, the bed here in Silph.Co. And sometimes we get some handy-dandy little items from it. With all that out of the way, and that inept grunt disposed of, let's go ahead and take on Giovanni, and I think we're gonna be okay. Psychic one-shots Nidorino. Just like in the first battle, Ice Punch one-shots Rhyhorn. Against Kangaskhan, we go for Psychic and get a critical hit. We probably did need that. Against Nidoqueen, we don't one-shot, which means we would not have one-shot Kangaskhan, but it just goes for Tail Whip, and we can use Thief and mop up the fight. While we're here in Saffron, might as well go ahead and fight Sabrina. I think we match up pretty well against her. Ice Punch for the Psychic types, and we can use Psychic to obviously one-shot Venomoth. Sabrina's Kadabra hopefully will get one-shot by Ice Punch. It is, very good. Out comes Venomoth, but it's part Poison type, so yeah, that's an obvious one-shot. Ice Punch deals great damage to Mr. Mime. It goes for Calm Mind, but that's not going to be enough to prevent a follow-up Ice Punch from taking it out. Alakazam outspeeds us, goes for Calm Mind, so Ice Punch deals about a third. It goes for Calm Mind, we miss Sweet Kiss. Happens again. It finally hits, but we also get hit for big damage. Sabrina uses a full heal, then inexplicably goes for Future Sight, so thanks for that victory, Sabrina. I can't believe I didn't get punished for all those Sweet Kiss misses. In order to make further progress in Kanto, we have to defeat Koga, and I think that's going to be pretty easy because his entire team is Poison type. Coughing, obviously, we one-shot. If we one-shot Muck, we're going to one-shot sweep the rest of the team. We did, so Koga got himself an extra large order of Dunyan Rings. Next up on Smoochum's old chopping block is Blaine, so this fight might be hard. Probably will be because we're weak to the entire team of same type Fire Blast. And we'll go ahead and check our time here as well. In front of Blaine, we're at 5 hours, 2 minutes, so we are a bit slower than Magby, but we haven't lost that much time, so yeah, catching Pokemon as we go, definitely the way to go going forward. And now, because of that atrocious Sweet Kiss luck against Sabrina, I finally taught Water Pulse, and good thing we did because we one-shot Growlithe and Ponyta. As for Rapidash, we don't quite one-shot it, but we do end up causing confusion, 20% chance of that. And it gets even better. It hits itself in Confusion. We have full health for Arcanine. We go for Water Pulse against Arcanine, and we one-shot it with a crit. Yo, I can't believe we no-damage swept Blaine's team with a Smoochum. That is awesome. And once we get the TM from Blaine, I immediately save, because obviously. And before we battle Giovanni, gonna go ahead and go to the Sevials. We'd have to do this anyway in the postgame, so best we get it out of the way now and get a little bit more XP. And we can get the hidden rare candy and PowerPoint up located here as well. It's pretty easy stuff, and I think that's also going to be true for the 8th gym. Now, Giovanni's team in Fire Red isn't too bad, but unfortunately for him, we have Water Pulse for the Rhyhorns, we have Ice Punch for Doug Trio, and we have Psychic to deal with the Nidos, which means that doesn't deal contact, which means Poison Point will not work on us. Yeah, Smoochum feels custom-built to destroy teams with this exact lineup here. And we can add Flying type on there as well. Smoochum has been doing awesome against Flying type so far. The Charizard a bit of an exception because it's part Fire type, but we'll get to that here in a sec. And hey, speaking of Charizard, we're about to battle our rival for the 7th time because we always do the optional one. As usual, our rival leads off with Pidgeot, and as usual for this run, one-shot with Ice Punch. Next up is his Rhyhorn, his newest addition to the team, but we have Water Pulse, so double super effective, double bye-bye. Charizard's next. Water Pulse deals about half, and we get hit by Scary Face, so that means we're going to be outsped and one-shot from full health with Flamethrower. But fear not, I have a plan. East of Fuchsia on that route, there's a TM, TM18. That's the TM for Rain Dance, and Smoochum can learn that weather effect. Rain Dance will not only buff the damage dealt by Water Pulse by 50%, but we take 50% less damage from fire-based attacks, so that should help us tank Charizard's Flamethrower. And now, the one issue with this strategy is that Rain Dance does take a turn to set up, and as this fight starts, that's exactly what we're going to lead off with. That means Pidgeot, for the first time in this run, can actually attack us for a fair bit of damage, too. That said, Pidgeot still is not a threat to us. We can one-shot it, and of course, with the Rain Dance buff, we're obviously going to one-shot Rhyhorn. Now, as Charizard comes out, we're going to go for Water Pulse, and you can see just how much more damage that deals. Unfortunately, thanks to that Wing Attack, Flamethrower, despite the Rain Dance defense buff, still takes us out. So we're going to need Pidgeot to go for Feather Dance on turn 1. Not entirely uncommon, because Pidgeot loves going for Feather Dance. We set up Rain Dance, and speak of the devil, Pidgeot wasted its turn, so we're going to waste it with Ice Punch. Rhyhorn's up next, and you guys know the drill by now. Bring out Charizard already. So, again, we deal awesome damage to Charizard with Water Pulse, and we confuse it. Charizard's confused. Does it hit itself? Oh, yeah, it does. It might not have taken itself out due to confusion damage, but hey, that's what we're here for. Next up, he sends out Execute, but you guys know by now, that's basically an XP snack for us. As Gyarados comes out, we're going to go for Psychic this time around, and thankfully Rain Dance is down because Hydro Pump does hit us, but not for nearly as much as it would have otherwise. Now, as we finish off Gyarados and Alakazam comes up, we're going to switch to Water Pulse. It does deal a little bit less damage. However, Alakazam loves going for Disable. It does disable Water Pulse, but no big deal. That's our weakest move, so Ice Punch follow-up does just enough damage to take out Alakazam. En route to the Elite Four, we're going to go ahead and find us another very well-hidden Leppa Berry. It's 2 of 3 that you can find in this game. After talking to Thunder Badge Bro, you go left here by this building, that patch of grass, 1 Leppa Berry, awesome. Okay, so for Lorelei, I have a pretty, out there idea for how to fight her, since we don't have anything good for Slowbro. What I'm thinking is, we're going to teach Smoochum Skill Swap. Skill Swap swaps the abilities of the Pokemon that you're targeting, so if we target Lapras with it, that means we're going to get Water Absorb. We do have to tank a hit from it, and hopefully Lapras will go for Surf during that turn, but hey, only one way to find out. Although I will say, getting critically hit by Dugong Surf, not a great way to start this fight. Still though, Leftovers will heal us up a bit, and we are able to two-shot Dugong, so we could possibly salvage this attempt. And what's really great for us is that she sends out Lapras second, so we can go and try skill swapping. We now have Water Absorb. It does go for Body Slam. It does like that move, and it's smart that it does it because of our base 15 defense. And judging by Psychic's damage, if we got a special defense drop, we could two-shot Lapras. Just a bit too weak at the moment. So this is going to take a couple of tries. Either Lapras has to use Surf on turn 1, which would effectively waste its turn, and heal us, which would be great. Or we're going to have to crit Lapras at a certain time, get a special defense drop. Or maybe if we get the mother of all damage rolls on Psychic, we could possibly two-shot Lapras, but that's being a little optimistic, I think. We make it to Lapras yet again, skill swap, Body Slam, yada yada. I have to say, too, that I'm very surprised that Body Slam has paralyzed us so few times in these attempts. And just when things are looking bad, we get that awesome damage roll on Psychic, so we are going to two-shot Lapras and continue with the fight. Cloyster's next, and Cloyster is completely useless against this strategy, because Cloyster's only damaging move is Dive, which is a Water-type move. As Slowbro comes out, it does go for Surf while we have Water Absorb, so we do get healed by a bit here, and this is where this battle takes an absolutely crazy turn. I was not expecting this at all, so I was expecting Slowbro to just go out and spam Ice Beam. It has 10 power points of it. And we do resist it, but it will deal damage to us, and our Leftovers are just shy about healing that damage. But Slowbro is just blowing through its yawns like coffee paper, which is funny because, I mean, technically we don't resist the move, and yawn doesn't miss, not that accuracy or evasion are a factor in this fight. But the AI seems to prefer that because the AI must be thinking, hey, Yawn isn't resisted, and it doesn't heal this creature, this enemy, whatever. So it keeps going for it, right? It does buff itself with Amnesia, which is kind of annoying. But since Surf flat out doesn't work on us and actually is beneficial to us thanks to Skill Swap, it's just a matter of time before we whittle down Slowbro. And, you know, just for some nice little salt in the wounds there, we can use Rain Dance. We have a couple of those left. And remember that Rain Dance boosts Surf's damage, so we'll get healed even further by that. I can't believe that wacky strategy actually worked, and yeah, Jinx was whatever, but Jinx couldn't do anything to us. And, well, Bruno's up next, and typically he's pretty tough in my challenge runs, especially in invasive species. This time, however, you might as well have a VIP seat to a wholesale slaughter. Water Pulse is double super effective against both of his Onyx, and we have Psychic to deal with the fighting types, and we get the same type attack bonus from Psychic, which is our strongest move anyway. So yeah, not a whole lot to say about this fight, and that's a very refreshing change of pace, and well, and if you're a fan of one-shot sweeps, well, spoiler warning, that's not getting old anytime soon either, because next up is Agatha, and Agatha's entire team is poison, whether in part, or in Arbok's case, pure poison. Nothing on her team has what I would call fantastic or even good special defense. I do really like that Agatha was easy for Magby and is easy for Smoochum. It'd be great if she was consistently easy throughout the course of this little mini-series. I like when Agatha's easy because she's pretty annoying to fight. And as we get ready to battle Lance, we're gonna go ahead and swap out Skill Swap for Ice Beam. It's a real shame we have to get rid of that move so soon, but it more than served its purpose in this run. Loved the way that turned out. Speaking of Lance, though, leads off with Gyarados. We're gonna go for Psychic. It deals pretty good damage, and he responds in kind with Dragon Rage. We'll follow up with Ice Beam and take him down. Next up is Aerodactyl, and wow, he's faster and... Oh my god! 4 health from Ancient Power? Well, that was a close call. Yeah, I say that because after Aerodactyl, we outspeed everything. We have Ice Beam. Dragonair is weak to it. Dragonite is double weak to Ice Beam, so yeah. Wow, that was not the way I was expecting that fight to go. I guarantee you that was a low damage roll on Aerodactyl's behalf. Also, really glad Ancient Power did not proc. Now, in preparation for the champion, we're going to go and use some power point ups on Ice Beam. That's also to conserve our power point restoring items like Ethers, the Lepa Berries. And if the 6th rival battle is anything to go off of, this might be a little bit tougher than the rival's been throughout the course of the run, which, that's not a terribly high bar to set either, because the rival was free up until Silphco. Silphco even wasn't that bad, and it took a couple of tries to get through the fight before the league. But the problem is that Pidgeot will be a bit of an obstacle for us because as we set up Rain Dance, we can get hit by Sand Attack. The question is, does that actually happen? We go for Rain Dance and yep, like clockwork. If AI was capable of feeling catharsis, I'm sure that was therapeutic as heck. Still though, we didn't miss Pidgeot and we didn't miss Rhydon either, which is very nice. And this interested me because of Rain Dance, he sends out Gyarados, and even more surprising, he didn't go for a Hydro Pump. He does have that in this fight. Our Ice Beam does miss, and we take a ton of damage in return. Man, that Thrash wasn't even a critical hit. Yikes. But we go for Ice Beam against Charizard, and we don't miss, but he goes for Slash, which can't miss, barring there's no accuracy or evasion. So yeah, this is going to take a few tries, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. Now, I was considering teaching Calm Mind, but the problem with Calm Mind is that it's going to take multiple turns to set up, and there's really not a good Pokemon to set up on prior to Charizard. Pidgeot can lower our attack with Sand Attack, Rhydon will hit like a Mack truck, and same for Gyarados. I mean, you saw how much damage that Thrash did. Calm Mind would help us deal a lot more damage and get through the fight, but with how hard it would be to set up, I think Rain Dance still is the better idea, and it seems to manipulate the champion's AI as well, because in the last fight, he sent out Charizard third. In this fight, he swaps Gyarados for Charizard in the order in which he sends them out, which I think is also kind of interesting. At our current level, we are going to have to be a little bit lucky. Not a whole lot lucky, but a little bit. I have for sure contended with worse odds here on this channel, like Rattata trying to beat Steven in Invasive Species, when it was able to bulldoze its way right to Steven. If we can make it by Charizard with decent health, we should be able to win. And sure, his Execute might have been evolved for this fight, but it is still weak to our ice moves, and we get same type from them, and its special defense isn't great. Alakazam might be able to take his shot, but as long as we don't get crit by Psychic or something, I think we'll be okay. Just gotta get by Charizard. So after all of these attempts, as he sends out Pidgeot, I'm like, you know what? To heck with sending up Rain Dance. Let's just use Ice Beam and see what happens going forward. Obviously, we're gonna one-shot it. I do really like that the first two Pokemon are essentially free. Rhydon's another XP snack. Now, hopefully Gyarados will go for Dragon Rage, best case scenario. Oh, second best case. Freezing is the best case scenario. Now, we'll set up Rain Dance here. He does defrost and hit us with Dragon Rage, so we should be okay for Charizard, I hope. We go for Water Pulse against Charizard. He gets confused off of it, and he hits himself. He does heal with the Citrus Berry, but that doesn't matter. The follow-up Water Pulse does more than enough damage to take him down. Alakazam's up next. We're going to go for Ice Beam, and we do outspeed. That's awesome. Almost one-shot it. Not a big deal. The Psychic doesn't deal a whole lot of damage to us, and the Champion's gonna heal, which is fine, really, because that gives our leftovers a chance to give us a bit of health via regen. And I decide to heck with it, go for Water Pulse, and then follow up with Ice Beam, take out the Alakazam. And I think that's game because all that's left is Executor. And yeah, there's Ice Beam, there's the one-shot. We did it. Wow, we beat the champion under level 80. With a Pokemon with stats like Smoochum, that's pretty good. It just goes to show that typing makes up, kind of, for its inferior base stat total. Inferior compared to Magby, anyway. Now, as is standard in this series, as well as my other Fire Red runs, unless I specify otherwise, like in Invasive Species, I do the post-game. Invasive Species, I never do. That ends at the champion. And in certain runs, that might be too hard, like the Ditto run. Even in the Ditto run, I wouldn't have bothered with the post-game because Lance's Gyarados is already a terrible Pokemon to use as Ditto in this game. But the one in post-game is even worse because its moveset is absolutely bizarre, and we're going to check that out once we get to it. But yeah, post-game's fun. I like the Sevials quite a bit. It's cool to find out that Lorelai's from here, and I really like the little tie-in. And I really like that the post-game story ties Gens 1/3 and 2, so Kanto and Johto's storylines 3 years apart. There's a nice little connection between the two with the Team Rocket story, with the dudes over here trying to get Team Rocket back on track with Giovanni's quote-unquote disappearance. That Team Rocket leader, the makeshift one I guess you'd call him, I was actually kind of worried about that fight because he does have a Houndoom and Psychic does not affect Dark types, and a Crunch may be special in Generation 3, but it still dealt a lot of damage to us, because, I mean, yeah, 65 special defense is way better than 15 base defense, but still, Houndoom hits really hard, and 65 special defense at the end of the day, not the best, certainly not the worst. Still, though, we got through the Sevials without much trouble, so we are back at the League. We have replaced Rain Dance with Calm Mind as of getting back to the League, and that 9 hours 14 minutes isn't too bad. Alright, Lorelei, it is round 2 time. I go for Calm Mind, anticipating Double Team, but it hits us with Signal Beam and confuses us. Psychic's almost a one-shot, but we get finished off by Signal Beam. Well, that didn't last long. This time I go for Psychic straight away, knowing that we can two-shot it. And of course this time Dugong does go for Double Team. So I'm thinking, alright, let's set up a Calm Mind. Dugong responds with Signal Beam, but thankfully we do not miss Psychic. Lorelei opts to send out Piloswine next, that replaces her Slowbro. Thinking about it for a second, like, let's just go for Ice Beam and see what happens, and it does just enough damage. We probably did need that Calm Mind. Lorelei opts to send out Clayster, who has a much better moveset this time around, but it doesn't survive one hit of Psychic. Next up on the old chopping block is Lapras, and unsurprisingly, it does tank a Psychic, and almost like it's spiting us because we don't have Skill Swap anymore, it used Surf, but not really a big deal because we can two-shot Lapras. Although I take the opportunity to set up Calm Mind, and for sure, one-shot Lapras. Last but not least is Jinx. We go for Water Pulse, still over a half. She goes for Lovely Kiss and misses. Thanks to the damage Water Pulse dealt, yeah, we're good. Now, Bruno might have been very easy for Smoochum last time, but he swaps out his 2 Onyx with Steelix, so that completely changes the dynamic of that fight. Still, I do feel confident leading off with Calm Mind because his moves can miss, and unfortunately Iron Tail does not miss, and it obviously is gonna one-shot us. Alright, so we try again, and things start off way better as we crit Steelix with Ice Beam. Interestingly enough, he sends out Hitmonchan next, and of course we one-shot it with Psychic. And because we one-shot Hitmonchan, we're gonna one-shot Hitmonlee. Machamp's up next, but it can't handle a single Psychic. As for the second Steelix to go for Ice Beam, don't take it out in one hit, but we do freeze it solid, which is awesome because Steelix would have certainly one-shot us with Iron Tail. It's part of the reason why I love fighting the rematch teams, is like fighting Bruno is so different. Next up is Agatha, and not only has she swapped out Haunter for Mischievous, an upgrade in my opinion, but her Golbat has evolved into a Crobat, so it's going to be fast. Gol will be faster than we are? Well, maybe. I guess we'll find out. Only one way to do so. Just like last time she leads off with Gengar, and just like last time it goes down in one hit. Out comes Crobat, we're faster, and we one-shot. Excellent. Next up is a level 70 Gengar, but we're faster, and it goes down in one shot. fourth out is Mischievous. We don't one-shot it with Ice Beam, and it responds with Shadow Ball, dealing a lot of damage because of a crit. Now, I'm going to fast forward straight to Mischievous. We take a bit of damage because I use Calm Mind against Crobat, and it hits us with Shadow Ball. But by tanking that Shadow Ball, thanks to Calm Mind, we are able to one-shot Mischievous with Ice Beam. And we win because last is Arbok, not that it stood any chance in the first place. Calm Mind Psychic, there's no kill quite like Overkill. Alright, next up is Lance. We'll go ahead and heal up, all that good stuff, before we fight Gyarados, because we are allowed to use healing items in the, outside of battle. And you'll notice that I slapped on a Sherry Berry over our leftovers. That's because Gyarados has Thunder Wave, so we get a free turn of Calm Mind. We don't one-shot it, but we do freeze it. Lance will use a full restore, but that gives us a chance to set up Calm Mind, and for sure we're going to be able to one-shot Gyarados now. Next up is one of his 2 Dragonite, and it goes down to a single Ice Beam. Aerodactyl's next, it goes for Ancient Power. This is awfully familiar. You guys ever get the sensation of deja vu? It's probably nothing. Kingdra's out next. We'll go ahead and use Psychic. Hopefully we one-shot it, and we do. Very good. Last is his level 72 Dragonite, but we're faster. Calm Mind, Ice Beam, yeah, get out of here. Alright, so a little bit of luck there. Not gonna act like that was perfectly smooth. That freeze was absolutely the difference maker. Last up is the Champions Rematch team, and things are about to get absolutely metal for our little protagonist here. The champion has swapped out Pidgeot and Rhydon for 2 way better Pokemon in the form of Heracross replacing Pidgeot, and Tyranitar replacing Rhydon. Heracross we can one-shot with Psychic. Charizard's next. I was expecting Tyranitar. I chance it with Calm Mind, and he misses Fire Blast. We go for Ice Beam. It deals really good damage, and he hits with Fire Blast. Even with Calm Mind's buff, we go down. That's not surprising, I'm sure. Being part Fighting type, we shouldn't have to worry about Heracross at all this run. Out comes Charizard. Thankfully, we are faster. We go for Ice Beam, and... oh, wow. Nice. Alright, we're going to take a chance here and set up a Calm Mind. Charizard does remain frozen, but best for us to not get greedy. We'll go ahead and finish off Charizard with Ice Beam. Next up is Alakazam, surprisingly, but it goes down in 1 hit. Lo and behold, next up on the chopping block is our champion's Tyranitar, so we're going to go for Calm Mind right away to get a bit tankier. Well, for special defense, though I am shocked that we tanked that Earthquake. We go for Ice Beam, come on, come on. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, man, really? I'm almost certain that was a low damage roll for us. Now, if you're thinking, hey, why not try setting up on Heracross? You know, what's its moveset? Well, I'm going to show you that right now. We're going to go for Calm Mind turn 1 against Heracross, and yeah, it has Mega Horn. It can miss, but no way are we surviving that one. All things considered, however, I think that we're okay. I don't think we're going to have to level up anymore. Considering our level and our base stat total, Smoochum is doing a really good job at... We're going to need a little bit, just a little bit of luck to get through the champion fight here. We have to freeze Charizard. There's no 2 ways around that. Setting up on Heracross would mean that we're banking on a 15% chance to miss, and I don't really like those odds, especially because that not missing means we get 1 shot. But we're going to need Charizard to get frozen, and to remain frozen, not defrost for a couple of turns. I'm thinking that 3 Calm Minds should do the trick, 3 or 4. There's a 20% each turn to defrost, so we're going to have to bank on that on top of freezing, so let's give it another try, shall we? I am happy that Heracross is always a one-shot, though. Anyway, Charizard comes out, we go for Ice Beam, there's that freeze. Alright, turn 1 of being frozen. Calm Mind, remains frozen. Second frozen turn, Calm Mind, still frozen. After 2, I decide not to get greedy and take out Charizard. Against Alakazam, I set up a third one as it also uses Calm Mind. However, that's not enough to protect it from a one-shot. Alright, out comes Tyranitar. Moment of truth. Please one-shot. Please, please, please one-shot. Ha ha ha, yeah. Next up is Executor, and with our buffed Ice Beam from 3 Calm Minds, yeah, one-shot very easy. Last up is Gyarados. I really hope that we one-shot this thing. Do we? Oh yeah, we do. Nice. Wow, go Smoochum, not even level 90, and she was able to beat the post-game. That's awesome. Now, just like in my invasive species rules, for the sake of this challenge, if we KO the final Pokemon of the run and level up, I don't count that level up because it contributes nothing to the run. Not invasive species, that ends at the main game's champion fights. Obviously here in these little mini-series, when we KO the champion's final Pokemon in the main story, it does contribute, so I do count that. But for the sake of our score, Smoochum ends the entire game after main and post-game at level 88. Level 88 final level, what about that time? Smoochum's final time is 9 hours 31 minutes. Yeah, way better than Magby here in Pokemon Fire Red, no question about that. Magby was level 85 upon beating the main story, and needed double team on top of being level 100, and broke double digits for the time. That's just because Lance is so difficult for fire types, not just in the main game, but definitely in the post game as well. That said, Smoochum definitely set the standard, so we'll see how Illakid does in the next run. See you there. Have a good one.